Hi, I'm Marshall. I'm the owner of Going Gear, and this is the extended review of the Eagletac MX25L3. We'll be looking at the different versions of this light today. Alright, so here we have a couple versions of the Eagletac MX25L3. If you've ever watched any of my Eagletac videos lately, you know that these can get kind of long. There's a lot going on with Eagletac lights. You have different LED options, kits and non-kits, just a lot of different stuff to talk about and explain. So if you want a real quick overview, we have a quick and dirty version of this. Just check the link in the description. We'll have that down there. So anyway, two different versions of the light. I have the kit or the non-kit version of the MT-G2 LED, and then I have the kit version of the XM-L2, just so you can see the difference between kit and non-kit. We'll show you all the different parts that come with each. So let's go ahead and open this up and pull out some stuff, show you what you get on the inside. We're going to set the MT-G2 to the side for right now. So again, keep in mind that this is the kit version, and I'll talk about what does not come with the non-kit version. Lanyard comes with both. User manual, warranty information comes with both. Definitely take a look at the user manual. A bunch of good information in here. Talks about mode switching, and you've got specifications and all that kind of stuff. Actually, quick specifications. Let's talk about what they have down here. So let's talk about ANSI lumens, because that's what most of the other manufacturers use. 2,375 on the MT-G2, 1,245 on the XM-L2, 1.5 down to 350 hours on the lowest output of runtime, 2.7 to 370 hours on the XM-L2, and then 347 yards of beam distance on the MT-G2, 507 on the XM-L2. As always, you can get the full specs for all the output levels and everything on our site. Eagletac gives you a ton of information. You can find all kinds of juicy little tidbits of specs and beam distance and lux and beam angle and all kinds of stuff that most of the manufacturers don't give you. So here is the kit version of the XM-L2. Actually, there's one other thing I need to pull out of here. I did not pull out. This right here is the reason that I personally recommend people get the kit version of a lot of the Eagletac lights. It's because of this rear switch. Finding a side switch can be kind of tough at night, especially if you're wearing gloves. You need to find it in a hurry. Finding a button on the rear of the light is super simple, easy, pretty much instant. So I always recommend people get the kit version just for this piece right here. And a lot of people will ask if they can upgrade from the non-kit to the kit. No, you cannot, because there's actually some internal parts of the kit version that make it non-compatible, or make the parts non-compatible with the non-kit version. So, alright, so let's take a closer look at these two. If you got two of the non-kit versions, if you got the non-kit of the XM-L2, non-kit of the MT-G2, the only difference you'd really notice between the two is the LED. So let's take a look at the LEDs. This is the MT-G2. You notice how big it is compared to the XM-L2. So that's why you get the increased beam distance on the XM-L2, because the reflectors are pretty much the same, other than that light orange peel on the MT-G2, which gives it just a really nice spread out beam, which works really well with the MT-G2 LED, just because it's so big. It's a big LED, you know, decent sized reflector, so it does give you a decent amount of throw, but it's a nice spread out beam versus the very focused throw oriented beam on the XM-L2. So it's personal preference, whichever one is more useful to you. Personally, I really like the MT-G2 beam. So you have the stainless steel bezel on the kit versions. Non-kit does not come with that. That's important because that's how the filters attach. And you also have an internal connection down in there that makes that rear switch work that I showed you earlier. So that's important. That is the big reason why the kit parts are not compatible with the non-kit version. But other than that, the lights are very similar. You can see the bodies are the same interface and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to use the XM-L2 version just to show you the interface and everything. Go ahead and take that tail cap off. Show you what's on the inside. So you can see this actually spins around, so you orient those prongs right and then put the batteries in and you're good to go. You have some battery sleeves there on the inside. So if you want to use CR123 batteries, slide it in this. Just helps keep them from rattling around. You can use them as little storage containers. You don't have to use them, but it's a nice little add-on that they include with both the kit and the non-kit. But we're going to set those to the side because we are going to use 18650 batteries. So this light is compatible with 6 CR123s or 3 18650 batteries. I always recommend 18650s if you're going to be using the light a lot, because it'll save you a lot of money in the long run. Usually get you longer run times, higher output, just overall better specs. The batteries we recommend these days, Eagletac actually makes excellent 18650s themselves. Olight just came out with these 3400 milliamp hour 18650s. They're a few dollars cheaper, and they come with a free nice little carrying case. So why not when they're using the same internal Panasonic cell? So 3 18650s, we're going to go and slide them down there in the battery tube. Another thing I like about this light is that it does not have a battery carrier. So a separate piece that you can take out and lose. It's all machined into the body. It's kind of a cool thing that they did. I actually really like these series of lights. The MX25L3, one of my favorite lights. I use it literally every day. I go on walks around our property at night with my daughter. I have a little 2-year-old. She likes to walk around and play with flashlights and look at frogs and toads and turtles and stuff like that. And the MX25L3 is the light I often grab and use. So MX25L3, a little bit larger head, a little bit more focused beam. I'll take an SX25L3 when we go outside just so you can see the beam difference between the two. I'm actually going to take this apart right here just so you can see something. A lot of lights you can insert the batteries at either the head or the tail. You cannot with these. So you can see you've actually got some internal parts in here that do not give you access to the batteries. So when you're putting the batteries in, they go in from the rear. Both kit and non-kit use the side switch, and then the kit's going to give you that optional rear switch. They do the same thing. There's no interface difference or anything like that. It's just you can use either the side or the rear. Totally a personal preference thing. I personally prefer the rear switch highly. It's a little bit easier to find, but when I'm actually using it and carrying it, it's nice to have that side switch because it's a little bit more natural position for me. But first turning it on at night, when you're kind of wondering where the switch is, that rear switch is kind of nice. You can actually, with the MX25L3, find the switch a lot easier. They made it more raised. They gave it a little bit better machining to find it at night. SX25 was kind of flush, kind of hard to find at night. It is easier to find on the MX25L3, so that's a nice improvement. You can see lots of machining there on the head. Helps dissipate heat really well. We'll kind of turn it around so you can see the different parts. There is the lanyard attachment point. In case you want to use the lanyard, you have that option. And then the removable bezel, will show you that better when I show you all the different kit parts later in the video. And some machining to help you differentiate the different parts of the light for your orientation of how to find the switch, assuming you have the head tightened, of course. Okay, so the interface on this light. You have this side switch, and you can turn the head, and that's how you turn it on to switch between your different modes. If you tap that side switch, it's going to turn the light on. Press it again, it'll turn it off. You have momentary as well, so if you press and hold, you'll go into momentary and release it. You can see it'll turn it off. And then to switch between your different outputs, what you do is you just loosen the head. You see it'll cycle between 4 different outputs all the way down to a pretty low one that gets you really nice battery life. You just tighten it to get back to the outputs that you want. And you do have access to that max output from the lower modes. If you just press and hold the switch while it's in the lower outputs, it goes right to that max output. And again, if you have the rear switch, you have the kit version, it does the exact same thing. So the interface is the same, they do the same thing. Okay, let's talk about the rest of the interface, the more complicated part. You have a bunch of different flashing modes, hidden modes, a whole other mode group. Let's talk about those. So strobe, this one's relatively simple. Press and then press and hold from any mode, including off, and it'll go right to strobe. So that's kind of nice. You have instant access to strobe from any different mode, and then you let go and it'll go right back to off or whatever output you had it in. You also have some hidden flashing modes. So if you have it in the first position, so head tightened, you go between it and the third or fourth, and then back to first, it'll go into your flashing mode. So you have a couple of strobes. You have a high flash. Actually, I have to look at the user manual because there's so many of these. You have an SOS, a slower SOS, a beacon flashing mode, a low flashing mode where it flashes at a really low output, and then back to your regular output, and then it starts all over again. So lots of different flashing modes for you to choose between. You've got a bunch of different ones that you can use for different situations. There's also what they call the tactical mode. We'll see if I can pull this off. The way to get into that is if you have the light on and you go between the first and second position 10 times in 5 seconds or less, then that's how you get to the tactical mode. So we have it in position 1. We'll go, I think I did it an extra time, but let's see if that works. So we have 100% output, 12% output, and then a couple of flashing modes. So a couple of the strobes at different frequencies. So that's the tactical mode, and again, you get to that by loosening and tightening between the first and second position 10 times in 5 seconds or less. So again, a lot going on with this light. You have a lot of different features between the kit and the non-kit. You get some pretty cool stuff with the kit, which again I'll show you in a little bit. Again, real quick on the interface. So the side switch, rear switch do the same thing if you have the kit version. If you press and hold, you get momentary. Then release it, it'll turn it off. Just tap it for constant on. Tap it again, it'll turn it off. To switch between your different output levels, you loosen the head. And it's in the tactical mode right now. But if we had it in the regular mode, you saw what it would do earlier. And then to get to your flashing modes, actually this is one thing to note real quick. So we'll go between the first and the third. You can see in the tactical, you actually do not have those extra flashing modes. So I showed you how to get into the extra flashing modes earlier. That's only in the regular mode. So just keep that in mind if you want to use the regular versus tactical modes. And then you have access to strobe from any level of any of the different modes or outputs. If you press and then press and hold again, it'll go right into strobe. So you have access to that from anywhere. Okay, that's the interface. Let's talk about the other stuff that you can get with the kit version. Stuff that's pretty cool. I definitely think is worth getting. I think definitely the best part of it is that rear switch. But the other stuff that you get in here is nice as well. So you have a nice rigid holster if you're a holster person. I'm not personally, but I know a lot of people are. So it's a nice rigid holster, holds it in there really, really securely. Got some good attachment points here on the back. So you've got the hook and loop and then the plastic D-ring if you want to use that. It does loosen up a little bit over time. So the first time you slide it in, you got to kind of cram it in there, but it does loosen up, but still holds it in there super securely and protects the light. Keeps it at the ready. Other stuff that you get in here, these are all really nice, and I'll take at least the red outside just so you can see what it does to the beam. But you have different filters. So you have red, yellow, blue, green, and a diffuser. Diffuser is the best one in my opinion. Really useful. And the way to get that on there is you just have to take the stainless steel bezel. Easiest way to do that is just press it against the palm of your hand. It'll screw right off. And then you can screw on the diffuser or filter of your choice. So it screws right on there onto the bezel and you're good to go. So that's another reason why the kit or the non-kit version is not compatible with the kit version, because you don't have that removable stainless steel bezel and this is not threaded. So the filters will not work on the non-kit version. So pretty cool option, and when I go outside I'll take the diffuser and the red ones just so you can see what they do to the beam. But they're all glass, they're all really well made, they hold up really well. And you can see they got that anti-reflective coating on there. So this looks blue, but if you can put it at the right angle, you can see that one's red. So really nice filters. They did a good job with those. Just going to put that stainless steel bezel back on. Okay, so we talked about the features. We talked about the interface, compatible batteries, kit versus non-kit, a lot of different stuff. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take these two lights outside. We're going to take the MX25L3 in the MT-G2 and XM-L2, and I'm also going to take the SX25L3 in the MT-G2 outside, just so you can get an idea of what that larger head on the MX25L3 does versus the SX25L3. So let's go ahead and take all these outside. We'll show you how they do outside. So I'm outside with the two Eagletac MX25L3 versions. Got the big 40 mag light that I always use as a baseline, since pretty much everybody's familiar with it. Let's go ahead and turn on that mag light, show you what it does. So there is a little tree about 25 feet away. Dock house down there on the lake is about 100 feet away. Let's go ahead and try out the Eagletacs. So first off, we're going to try out the XM-L2 version. So that's first. You can see super concentrated beam on that. Really great throw, and you'll see that better when we go out to a little bit longer distance. But really concentrated beam, you can see, and you'll see this better when I turn on the other one, but not a huge area of illumination for the hotspot, which a lot of people like. You get that punch, you get the distance, and maybe you don't want to light up a wide area once. You still have the very usable spill or the dimmer part out here that you can see can light up still a pretty wide area for a good distance. But very, very concentrated beam on this one. We'll cycle down through the other outputs just to see what you can see what those look like. And even on the lowest one, great for up close kind of stuff, and it still makes it out there. Not great at 100 feet, but not too bad. And then you can crank it up to the other ones when you need the higher output. So that's the XM-L2 version. Let's try out the MT-G2 version. So more lumens coming out of this thing, just a really like a wider area. My dog probably up to no good down there, kind of wandering around. We'll shine that around just so you can see what that looks like. I really like the tint on this, so the color of the beam, really nice color on this. Greens and browns look nice and green and brown. And we'll zoom in on the dock house so you can see just a wider area of illumination, but you don't get the distance. You don't get quite the throw, which I prefer this one, because I don't have a lot of use for 400 meters of beam distance or anything like this. I'd rather just light up a really wide area like this one does. Kind of shine that around a little bit. I'll show you the other outputs just so you can see what they look like. Let's cycle down. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to do them side by side. So we'll have the MT-G2 on the right, and then we'll put the XM-L2 on the left, just so you can see quickly what the difference in the beam looks like. So you can see how much more concentrated and brighter the hot spot is on that XM-L2. Okay, I also have an MX25L3 here, and I have the MT-G2 version, and we'll do the MX on the right and the SX on the left, so you can see the difference between those two. So there is MX, SX. You're not going to see a huge difference at this kind of distance. Maybe a little bit better when we go out to a longer distance. You'll see how the SX is just not quite as concentrated as the MX. Not a massive difference, but there is a little bit of a difference. Okay, let's try out the filters on these things. So here is the diffuser on the XM-L2 version. You can see much more diffused beam, actually pretty close to what you saw with the MT-G2, but even more diffuse. I really like diffusers. I find them very, very useful. You get that nice wide area lighting and still a whole lot of output. Let's try red. So I have the red filter on there. This one's not going to affect the beam pattern as much as it's just going to change the color. So this is the XM-L2. You can see, of course, it's going to have greatly diminished output, and it's not going to give that extreme distance of throw, but still out to 100 feet it gets out there pretty well. And if you need the red, this is a great option for that. And of course the other colors are going to do same thing but different colors, and then you're going to see a similar kind of change when you use these on the MT-G2 version. So let's try these out at a longer distance and see what they can do. Alright, we got some more distance to work with on the Eagletac MX25L3 models. We're going to go ahead and try the XM-L2 first. So there is a boat 20 feet away. Got some targets set up out there. Same long range targets I use in the big flashlight comparison that we do. First one is 50 yards. Second one's 100 yards. Trees out there are 130 yards. So you can see it lights all that up. Absolutely no problem at all. This is definitely the thrower model of the two. The other one gives you still really good distance, but this one's going to give you that more concentrated beam, the better distance. So if you want throw, you want the distance, this is definitely the model to get. Show you what those other outputs look like. Kind of cycle it down. And then the low one, you can see, makes it out to the 20 feet. Not too bad. It's not going to make it out much further than that. Then when you need it, you got that quick button press or the head twist to get to your other outputs. Pretty impressive for a relatively compact light. They did a good job on these. I really like this series of lights. Okay, let's try out the MT-G2 version. So you can see definitely a floodier beam. You can see the difference in the beam a lot more markedly than when we had a little bit shorter range, and you'll see it even better when we do them side by side. But just lighting up a wider area, more flood, but you can already start to see that it's not as concentrated. You're not going to get the same distance out of it, but still really solid distance. It's going to go out to a couple 100 yards, 300 yards, no problem. So 50 yards, 100 yards, 130 yards, lights all of those up without any issues at all. So we're going to go ahead and do the SX25L3 and the MX25L3. We'll do both MT-G2 side by side, since a lot of people ask the difference in the beams, what they look like. So we have the SX on the left, MX on the right. We're kind of shining back and forth. You can see the difference in the concentration, even though they're pretty much the same output, same feature set and everything, but definitely different beams on them. Okay, turn the SX off, we'll keep the MX on, and then we are going to do the two MXs side by side. Actually, let me show you the lower outputs on the MX, because I did not do that before. The MT-G2. And then again, that low, good for up close kind of stuff. Lights up to 20 feet away pretty well. And then you have the higher outputs when you need them. Okay, so we'll have XM-L2 on the left, MT-G2 on the right. You can quickly see the difference in the beams, difference in concentration, difference in colors. The big difference between the beams. They look pretty much exactly the same in terms of the flashlight, but he showed the beams side by side. Very different. Alright, so there you go. Those are the Eagletac MX25L3 models. If you like them, you can buy them from us at goinggear.com. Any questions or comments, you can reach me in the comments or at goinggear.com. And if you like the videos, please subscribe. We do a lot of gear and flashlight videos. And that's it. Thanks for watching.